Hey everyone, welcome to The Creek. My name is Jared Miller and I'm the ministry lead here. Over the past couple of weeks together, we've been looking into the story of Job and looking at it through the lens of its corrective to the collection of writings that are known as the Hebrew wisdom tradition. If you want to catch up on those, there should be a box up here that you can click on. But the bulk of Job's 40-odd chapters is a series of dialogues that happen between Job and the group of friends who've been sitting with him in his suffering. Last week, we looked at whether or not it was actually fair to call them friends and noted that although they get a lot of slag, there's actually a fair bit that they do get right. But there's also lots they get wrong too. Next week, we'll wrap up this part of Job's story by looking at the way Job responds to each of these approaches. But for now, what I want to do is take a look at the ways that these friends try and make sense of everything that's been happening to Job. First up is Eliphaz the Temanite. Across his 3 speeches, Eliphaz has one main argument. Karma's a bitch. As far as he can tell, Job must have done something to deserve the calamity that's being heaped on him. Eliphaz, I think, goes first because his thesis most directly contradicts the information that we've gotten in the prologue. We know that Eliphaz simply has his facts wrong, and so whatever conclusions he arrives at have been gleaned from incorrect or incomplete information. But at the same time, you can understand how he gets there. We all want to assume that the universe is fundamentally just, that if we succeed, it's because we've done good things. And so when people suffer, the natural response is to try and understand who or what has done something to deserve it. Ultimately, though, karma fails to account for 2 big things: systems and communities. These are the invisible structures and the unspoken norms that keep complex societies functioning efficiently. The approach to suffering that simply wants to just lay it all at the feet of karma neither takes seriously the privilege of cultural distance or the formative nature of being part of a mutual community. We don't climb the mountain alone, and neither do we all start from the same base camp. Next up is Bildad the Shuhite. Similar to Eliphaz, Bildad assumes Job has done something wrong, but with a slightly different tack. Bildad's fundamental assumption is that God is looking for an opportunity to bless Job with outward signs. But first, he needs himself an outward sign of submission before he can confer this blessing. Forget for a second that this kind of childish behavior on God's part would beg the question whether or not this God would be worthy of anything remotely approaching worship, but that a focus on prosperity actually puts a price tag on pain. It cheapens Job's suffering to the point where you need to ask how much benefit would make up for the loss of family, health, and livelihood. Even though at the end of the book we're actually told that Job restores everything that has been lost, it's not repentance or some outward submission that brings it about. Bildad's speech puts the wrong person in the driver's seat. Then there's Zophar the Naamathite, who has the most accurate approach of the 3 friends. Zophar encourages Job to simply count his blessings because at the end of the day, well, it could always be worse. And he's not wrong, but he's also by far the most pessimistic. For Zophar, there is no cheery outcome to Job's story. God is wrath and life sucks. To find any joy in the midst of life is our ultimate goal. And so, interestingly, Job doesn't seem to disagree, but he finds this approach to comfort so tiring that he finally just asks these friends to leave him alone. There is, though, a 4th friend who finally speaks up. Silent up to this point, Elihu begins to transition us into the back end of Job's story, and we'll get into Elihu's approach next week. But make sure that you are subscribed and hit the bell button below to get all of our content or get notifications for everything that we're doing here at The Creek, and follow us on our social media platforms. Let us know how things are going with you, or let us know what you'd like to take a look at with us. For now, though, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. All the best. Bye for now. Cheers.